Hey everyone, I just wanted to make a quick tutorial going over how to create the U-spacer for your homework. So when we open up SOLIDWORKS, we're going to go and select that new part and hit OK. For my instructions, I know I'm only creating a 2D sketch. I want to make sure my part document window is in inches, so on the status bar, double check and that we are in inches. Now I'm going to be sketching on the top plane for this sketch, so select top plane, then your normal 2 icon just to bring that plane flat to our view. Now we are only creating a 2D sketch, so please ignore that thickness that's called out at the bottom. I'm going to open a new sketch and I'm going to start with just a straight line segment at the bottom left corner. Remember to always attach it to your origin. We're going to create that rough sketch at first. So I'm going to bring out this straight line. Now, instead of coming up here and selecting the arc sketch tool, because I am just in that straight line, one shorthand is you can bring the mouse back to that endpoint and then it will give you a tangent arc. So this only works with the tangent arcs, so it's going to be great for this application. Once I hit the endpoint down, it goes back to being a straight line. So let's just finish this off. I'm going to bring my mouse back. Make sure that you kind of get that arc going the right direction. Sometimes SOLIDWORKS does want to be difficult. So in that case, you can hit escape, come up here, select that tangent arc, and now we're going to just kind of place it right here. Come back to your line segment, and we kind of have a straight line that comes up this way. Then we come down in the middle. Once again, I'm going to bring my cursor back so I can create this rounded inside edge. Just moving around this part with my straight lines the best I can. Kind of have like a little straight line here, which is hard to see in the drawing. I'm going to bring my cursor back so I get that rounded edge. And it wants to flip the other direction, just pull it down. Now, I'm going to bring the straight line here, and you can see this looks really wonky. Come back to that endpoint, just so I can connect to my origin. Okay. So this looks extremely wonky. We can see that this part is symmetric. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I am dealing with these tangent arcs, is I want to add in relationships. With a tangent arc, you need that relationship on both sides of that arc, so you get that nice flowing surface. We don't have that here. So select that tangent arc, hold your control key down, and select your straight edge segment. With both those selected entities highlighted, I'm going to add in a tangent relationship and hit OK. You can now see that really brought that out. I'm going to just work my way around. So here I have the tangent relationship. I need it on this other end. So I'm going to select that line segment, hold my control key down, select that arc, add in the tangent relationship, and hit OK. This top corner looks like it's going to be giving us some problems. So let's see if I can just kind of bring it down a little bit so it's not as crazy as it looks. Okay. So, because I know from the shorthand with the text that this says 2xr.63, that's telling me that both of those arcs, the 2 times, has the same radius. So I'm going to add in an equals relationship. So I'm going to select that arc, hold my control key down, select the other side, and add an equal, and hit OK. I also know that these 2 sideline segments will be equal to one another. So I'm going to select both of them, and then add in that equals relationship. Same with these top arcs. You can see that we have that shorthand of 2x times the radius of 0.88. So that tells me that this arc as well as this arc are going to be equal. This whole part is symmetric. And then my two small lines that are right here and right here, even though that one looks really strange, they also need to be equal. So this is just going to allow me to kind of change how this is set up. Okay. So if I keep working around this way, I can see that I have that nice arc tangent relationship here. I need to add it between the arc and this straight line right here. So I'm going to select that arc, hold my control key down, select that straight line, add in that tangent relationship, and hit OK. I'm going to move over to this side before I do anything with the center. You can see I have the tangent relationship on the top of that arc. I need to add it to the bottom. So I'm going to select that arc, hold my control key down, select that straight edge, and add in that tangent relationship. Now I'm going to come in and select these two inside edges and add in an equals relationship, since they need to be the same size as well. On the bottom, our arc does have that tangent around the entire side, so it does not need to be added in. Now, one thing, since this part is symmetric, I know that my midpoint for this bottom line needs to line up with my midpoint here. So to do that, I'm going to come on this bottom line, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to select, or click on select midpoint. It's automatically going to light it up there. And then I'm going to hold my control key down, and I'm going to select the midpoint of this arc. So I have the midpoint of the arc, the midpoint of the straight line selected, and because I want them to be center, I am going to add in a vertical relationship. I'm going to hit OK. As you can see, it is saying that my sketch is not working, because how I already had it set up and this side's so wonky, I don't have any dimensions or anything. If I just move it around just a little bit, it then lines up that vertical relationship. And I can see that here where it lights up those dimensions. So sometimes if it does pop up red, it's just because you need to move your sketch, or you can go in and double check all your relationships. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start adding in some of our dimensions so we can get this shape looking pretty correct. So I'm going to come up to the top under my sketch tab and select the Smart Dimension icon. I'm going to start by putting in the height. So I'm going to select this top point. I'm going to select my bottom line segment, and I'm going to drag out that dimension. I'm going to list it as 5.75. This is giving me the height of this entire part. Now the first dimension you put in will scale your part or your sketch to that size. Next, I'm going to come from this midpoint for this arc, come down to my vertical line, and this is going to be 2.75. I'm going to hit OK. Now, I know that the dimension from this midpoint to over here, this top midpoint is going to be 2.20. And I want it to come up vertical. So I'm going to select both those midpoints, and instead of it coming at an angle like this 3.9, I want to make sure I pull it up vertically so I get the true dimension. This is going to be 2.20. Don't worry, everything will work out fine as we add in these dimensions. Sometimes your sketches get really wonky. If it keeps going all crazy, it is really easy to just start sketching your outline and kind of doing dimensions as you go before you finish it. I am going to call out this top radius. So I'll select that arc, go ahead and type in 0.88 and hit OK. Since I have that equals relationship selected, you can see that this arc on the side already shrunk down, so it has the same radius now. I'm going to select the bottom arc and do the same thing. So this is 0.63. Hit that green check mark. Both of those bottom arcs have now changed. I'm also going to dimension from this point to that bottom edge. Bring it over, and that's going to be 4.70, and hit OK. Now, because my shape is getting so crazy, I'm going to just kind of rotate it so it looks a little better and not as crazy. I also know that this endpoint and this endpoint have to line up since they are symmetric. So before I add in any more dimensions, I'm going to add in that relationship. So I'm going to select that endpoint, hold my control key down, select this endpoint, and I'm going to make them horizontal. Hit OK. And I'm just going to kind of move my part around. You can see on the bottom it wanted to flip around, so I'm going to just grab that edge. Just so I kind of have this U-spacer shape overall. So if I zoom in, I can see that this is pretty short right now. If you're looking at this, we are missing an angle here. We're also missing the main radius and then the distance. That's going to give this width on the bottom. So I'm going to go in, since I don't have my dimensions yet, and I'm going to add in a center line for reference. So with your line segment, click that drop down arrow, select that center line. I'm going to take it from the midpoint of this arc all the way down to the midpoint of my bottom line segment, and then hit escape because that line's inserted. Now, your part has to be created with these solid object lines, and they cannot be self-intersecting. However, we can use construction lines, like this dotted line, for references. So it has no effect on our actual sketch, but it's going to allow me to create those dimensions to give this bottom a width. So now I'm going to go into my Smart Dimension tool again. I'm going to dimension this main arc, which is 0.88. I'm going to dimension the width from that center line to this midpoint of our bottom arc, and you could do this with either one, and this is going to be 1.38. You can now see we are getting that clear shape. Now the last angle we need is going to be that 90 degrees. That is why we have the sketch that's still not fully defined. So I know that the 90 degrees is between these two line segments. So I'm going to select both line segments, click my value down, and change that to 90, and then hit OK. After I do that, you can now see that our shape is fully defined. We can read on our status bar that it's fully defined, and no additional steps are needed. So since we're not adding any depth to this, go ahead and save this part file and then submit it for your homework.